This video shows you how to mask data in catalog assets. If an asset includes personal identifiable information, then you can use data policies to restrict access to that asset. But oftentimes, only one or two columns in the data are classified as PII, and the rest of the data contains valuable information that should be available to a broader audience. That's where data masking comes in handy. Data masking helps you protect sensitive data, such as personally identifiable information or restricted business data, to avoid the risk of compromising confidential information. This data asset has 3 columns that are masked. When you hover over the icon, you'll see that one column is obfuscated, one column is substituted, and one column is redacted. The lock icon indicates the masked columns. When you hover over the lock icon, you can see that the national ID column contains obfuscated values based on this data protection rule. When masking data, the values are changed, but the format is preserved. So in this example, the Social Security number format is preserved, but the actual Social Security numbers are masked by swapping out the actual numbers for random numbers. When you hover over the other lock icon, you can see that the credit card number column contains substituted values based on the data protection rule. When substituting data, the values are changed using hash values, and the format is not preserved. In this example, the column containing credit card numbers has substituted hash values that maintain the referential integrity, meaning that if this same credit card value is included in a different data set, the same substituted hash value is used in that data asset as well. This allows you to perform joins of the two data sets with masked values that use the substitution method. The marital status column in this data set is redacted. This method replaces each data value with a string exactly 10 letters of X's to remove the information. With redacted data, neither the format of the data nor referential integrity is retained. The Profile tab contains more detailed information about the inferred classifications. When assets are added to a catalog with data policies enabled, Watson Knowledge Catalog automatically profiles and classifies the content of the asset based on the values in those columns. So these masked columns are classified as U.S. Social Security number and credit card number, respectively. And the marital status column is classified as legal marital civil status. The documentation includes a list of all of the data classes. Navigate to the Policies section to see the Sensitive Information Policy, which contains 3 data protection rules. The first rule masks the financial account data using the substitute method. The second rule masks the government identity data using the obfuscate method. And the third rule masks the personal demographic data using the redact method. Data protection rules do not need to be associated with a particular policy to be in effect. Navigate to the Rules section where you can define a rule to mask data. There are 2 types of rules: data protection rules and governance rules. While data protection rules do not need to be associated with a particular policy to be in effect, governance rules do need to be associated with a policy. In this case, it will be a data protection rule. Rules need a name and business definition. The business definition is important because it describes the rule in plain language and helps users find the rule through search. Then specify the criteria made up of business terms, which can be mapped to users or data. In this case, the condition should use the data class classification that contains any government identities. You could also use manual classification if you've manually classified an asset as, for example, personally identifiable information. Or you could use asset tags that you've manually added to assets. So this example will use data class with contains any. And then you can search for the data classes: U.S. Social Security Number, Canadian Social Insurance Number, and UK National Insurance Number. Next, choose the action. Instead of denying access to the asset, you want to mask the data in columns using substitute, redact, or obfuscate, containing the data classes U.S. Social Security Number, Canadian Social Insurance Number, and UK National Insurance Number. When you select each of the three methods, you can see examples of how the data will be transformed. In this case, you want to obfuscate the data. You would create additional rules to substitute the bank account and credit card numbers and redact the personal demographic information, such as marital status and ethnicity, in the same way. The rules will then be enforced on affected data assets. Find more videos in the Cloud Pak for Data as a Service documentation.